All right, we're about to dive into what is, let's be honest, probably the most skipped over passage in the entire book of Genesis. It's just a long, repetitive list of names. It feels dry, maybe even totally pointless. But what if I told you that this so-called boring list is actually one of the most dramatic, most hopeful turning points in the entire biblical story?
So think about what just happened right before this. We get the story of the Tower of Babel, right? It's the story of humanity's loud, arrogant ambition, everyone shouting, let's make a name for ourselves. And what's the result? Total chaos, confusion, scattering. So, what is God's response to this massive, noisy failure? It's the complete opposite. It's a quiet, orderly, almost monotonous list of names. You see the shift? It's a move from chaos to order, from humanity screaming to make a name for itself, to God quietly preserving a lineage, one name at a time.
And that, of course, brings up a huge question. How in the world does the story pivot from global chaos and judgment to one of focused hope and promise? Why does the answer to Babel's pride start with what looks like a dull family tree? That's the mystery we're going to unpack right now.
See, this isn't just a list, it's a statement. It's God's quiet, deliberate plan unfolding right on the heels of humanity's loudest failure. It's a complete counter-narrative. And when we look closer, when we really dive in, we find this hidden message of hope, like a lifeline being woven through history. Now, what's really cool is how this is all structured. The book of Genesis is actually built around these sections that all start with the same Hebrew word toledat. It means generations or descendants. Think of it like a literary signpost. It's the author telling the reader, hey, pay attention. A brand new, important chapter in God's plan is starting right here. This tells us this list is anything but random. It's incredibly intentional. And if you want to see just how intentional it is, just compare it to the first big genealogy in Genesis, the one from Adam to Noah in chapter 5. That list has this heavy, somber rhythm. After almost every name, it repeats the phrase, and he died, over and over. It's like this drumbeat of mortality. But now, in our list, from Shem to Abram, that phrase is gone. Instead, the focus is all about continuity, and had other sons and daughters. The whole tone just shifts from the finality of death to the promise of life carrying on. And this just brilliantly illustrates a crucial point. Take a look at who's in this list. You know who's not? Mighty kings, famous warriors. There are no great heroes here. It's just names. People who were born, had kids, and kept the family line going. It shows that God's world-changing plan isn't always pushed forward by spectacular people, but through the quiet, steady, ordinary rhythm of human life. So for 10 generations, this list flows along like this wide, hopeful river. But then, the camera suddenly zooms in hard on one man, Terah, and his family. And as we get closer, all that quiet hope we've been building up seems to just evaporate. We find a family in a full-blown crisis. Okay, crisis number 1, their location. Abram's family is living in Ur of the Chaldeans. Now, this wasn't some tiny village. It was a sophisticated, advanced city. But it was also a major hub for idol worship. And Abram's own father, Terah, was deep in this culture, serving other gods. So the very family chosen to launch God's plan is starting from a place of deep spiritual darkness. And then, personal tragedy hits. Abram's brother Haran dies. And the text makes a point of telling us he died before his father Terah. That's a deep, unnatural sorrow. A father is burying his own son. The shadow of grief just falls over the family, completely disrupting that natural order of life the genealogy was just celebrating. And finally, we get the ultimate crisis, the knockout punch. After this long list that is all about one thing, having children and continuing the line, we land on this absolutely devastating sentence. Now, Sarai was barren. She had no child. The very lifeline we've been tracing for 10 generations has just hit a biological dead end. The promise is impossible. So let's just recap for a second. We have a family stuck in idolatry, wounded by premature death, and staring down the biological impossibility of having children. The line of promise seems totally broken. In a situation this bleak, where on earth can hope even begin?
And right here is the stunning answer. The whole point is that this crisis isn't an obstacle to God's plan. It's the stage. It's the setup. Humanity's dead end is God's starting line. Hope doesn't begin in spite of the brokenness, it begins right in the middle of it.
And this isn't just a one-off thing. This is a pattern that God establishes right here at the very beginning. Step 1, start with human impossibility, a barren womb. Step 2, speak a divine promise right into that impossible situation. And step 3, when it's fulfilled, it is so clearly by His grace and power, not by human effort. And we see this exact pattern play out again and again with the next generations, with Isaac and the barren Rebekah, and then with Jacob and the barren Rachel. So let's zoom back out. How does this one ancient family's drama fit into the bigger picture? Why does this matter so much? Because it frames the entire story that's about to unfold. It teaches us something fundamental about how God chooses to work in our world. So what can we take away from all this? Well, first, that God's quiet, steady plan is His answer to our loud, chaotic ambition. Second, that world-changing history often starts not with famous heroes, but with ordinary people facing impossible odds. Which means that true hope, it often begins right where our own strength ends. This one boring list literally launches the foundational story for 3 of the world's major religions. And maybe the most important takeaway of all is this: God doesn't wait for us to get our act together. He meets us and begins His best work right in the middle of our mess. And that leaves us with one final thought. This whole incredible story kicks off at a point of utter impossibility. So it kind of forces us to ask ourselves, right? What's the thing in my own life that feels like a dead end, a crisis, a weakness, an impossibility, that might just be the exact place where a whole new story is waiting to begin?